So, as usual, I'm just going to wait a little while, make sure everything is running fine. But yeah, we've begun. Just going to get some music going. We'll continue with the, usually like the Twitch free music library stuff. I've kind of just been playing, I think, all week this like 8-bitty video game kind of music. So far I'm enjoying working to it, so we're going to keep playing. Yeah, so just as I kind of wait for people to show up, people might be here, I don't have a really good readout. Today we are doing day 4 of our, oh, Tatiana, hello, and Lemon, hello to you too. Nice to see you guys. Tatiana, of course you're here right away, because you know that we're doing Water Deer today, just because of you. Just going to turn this down a little bit. Yeah, so today is day 4 of our week-long animal studies. So each day we're kind of picking a new animal, and then just going through the process that you can kind of see in the bottom left there of just doing a little warm-up, drawing it with the reference, then drawing without reference to see kind of what we've learned, and then kind of fixing and repeating, and maybe doing some characters at the end. That's been pretty fun too. For this particular one, I've also included like a little like mini lesson, just because this is like the first like hooved animal we're doing, and I think it's really useful to understand how the bones work in the arms of things like deer. So we're going to be going over that briefly. Hopefully give you guys some fun information to help you with your animal drawings. Yeah. And Taters, nice to see you too. Welcome back. Yeah, as always, if you have any questions, throw them at me. Otherwise, I'm going to do my best job to think out loud as I'm doing all this stuff. And yeah, the intention is to, help you guys out. So let's hope that we can do that. Eder, nice to see you too, man. Good morning. The entire time I've been doing these, you've missed the warm-up. Okay, so we will do the warm-up right now, Tatiana. I can't say you're missing much. It's pretty much like, so what I've been doing is just kind of setting like a timer for like 5 minutes, and just doing like, there's a couple exercises that I'm currently using for my warm-ups. One of them is drawing like 2 dots and then trying to join those 2 with a straight kind of confident line. Just to kind of get, it's all based around just like getting the control down. And I find this is really helpful for me to do that. Especially like since I'm working digitally. And I'm not super comfortable working digitally, to be honest. So it's really helpful for me. It's especially useful for me to warm up with this stuff. So yeah, this is one of the main things I'll do. And then another one will be, I guess, in line with some of these circles that you're seeing, is drawing like 2 lines and then trying to draw circles in this box. And what I'm trying to do is have the circle I draw touch all these edges here. And only go around like 2 or 3 times. So I'll draw another one. And I'm really focusing on drawing from my shoulder with this too, and not so much my wrist, because that really is helpful for drawing things like circles and straight lines. And then another one I will do is maybe do like a curve, and then try to draw over it 8 times. That's like 4, 5. So yeah, this just kind of helps me with concentration, with control, all that stuff. So these exercises are all taken from, Draw a box.com. So some good fundamental lessons on that site, and the first few of them serve as really good warm-ups. So another one is drawing like planes in perspective, and then kind of joining them up like this, or even just drawing like kind of perspective boxes is always pretty good too. I think the most important thing here is to like you can really do anything. I just find that if I don't warm up, the first like 5 minutes or so of my drawing suffers, because my arms and hands don't really know what to do. So like sometimes I might even just doodle. There you go. That's a warm-up right there. Rotates very slow. Yeah, so I hope that kind of clears anything up for you, Tatiana. Again, it's nothing like super special. Man, this rotates really slow on this tablet. Oh, geez. I'm gonna try not to rotate the canvas. Set that. Yeah. Escape sets the rotate back to normal. I'll have to test that. That would be really helpful. So I rotate it. Escape. Oh man, thank you, Lemon. That is a wonderful tip. And yeah, with that, we have gone 5 minutes, so that is the warm-up. Something I want to do today that's been different than the previous 3 days is I just want to start off. Yes, we do got some like water deer that we're going to be doing. Wait a second. Do I make the music for my videos? Oh, geez, no, I don't make the music. No, a lot of the music that I use for like my classes and stuff is royalty free, or I just need to do attribution, so I just need to just mention who it's by. And then the music we're using right now is also Twitch has permission to use this music. Yeah, so what I want to cover today is just, before we get into actually drawing this water deer, I want to talk about the legs of deer and like other hooved animals, because I think this is a really helpful information to know when you're drawing animals. Like so far we've done so there's like 3 kind of like kinds of animals. Well, 3 like main like movements of animals. There's like plantigrades, which walk on like their palms, or like the equivalent of our palms. So when we did the lizard, it was kind of like that. We did the Komodo dragon. And then there's digitigrades, which are things like dogs and the aardwolf that we did, where they kind of walk on like their fingers and the palms of their hands. And then there are ungulagrades. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that is things like deers and horses and hooved animals, and it's almost like they're kind of walking on their fingertips. And so I think it's really helpful just to kind of, I have some like diagrams here that I pulled from this book called Force Animal Drawing, which for me has been like the best book I've ever read and worked through on drawing animals. And he kind of draws this comparison between human arms and legs and animal arms and legs. And I thought it'd just be kind of cool to like go over it. Also, if I'm going too fast, someone tell me something. I'm just very aware right now that I'm talking fast. I've just had a bunch of coffee, so that happens. So if I were to compare a human arm to a horse, or in this case, deer arm, which would be like its front leg, you can see that from these diagrams, there is the, where is it here? So yeah, so here is like, I need a different color. So there is the shoulder here. And then this would be like the, kind of like the bicep. Hold on. Let me just stop for a second. To the shoulder. Okay. Yeah. No, because the shoulder's like up here somewhere. This will be the like kind of bicep area, and then this would be the forearm. So on here, this is actually like the forearm, like our equivalent of the forearm. And then the wrist happens right there. So it might be really easy, like when you first learn about like horses or like look at their feet and stuff, to think that the wrist is kind of like something like down here. To think the wrist is like down here. But if you think of this as the forearm, this is the wrist, and this is like the palm of the hand. And then all the fingers are kind of squished up into this little hoof area. The bones are all kind of fused together, kind of like you can see here. And so when you it kind of makes sense when you see how like the legs of a horse or deer bend. Because you'll notice that like right at this, so like right here, this will kind of bend like this way. So like that. And then this part as well, you'll see it bend this way, and this would be like our wrist going like this. Whereas like if you were to think of this as like an ankle sort of thing, it wouldn't quite. Guys, I'm losing myself. I really think I need to slow down. Because this is the wrist. So the wrist kind of moves like this. And then this is like the equivalent of like your knuckles. That's the thing. So here, like, yeah, so it would be like the knuckles right there. And then the actual hoof is like your fingers. Jeez, guys, I'm sorry. So if I were to go to like the back leg now, you might think that this part here, so this part here would be the equivalent of a knee, but that in fact is the ankle. Yeah, thanks guys. Don't worry, the pace is okay. So I know what I thought was really interesting about this is that it was always weird to me how the back legs of a lot of animals like this they bend opposite to how our knees bend. So I always thought like, oh, this is the knee, and it just bends reverse. But actually, this is the knee, and it bends the exact same way that our legs bend. This part here is the ankle, and that ankle, is more or less bending how we're used to it. Then when you get down to the actual hoof, which is kind of hidden here, but it's the same as this, that's where you get, here is like kind of like the ball of the foot would be like this little kind of knot there, and then the toes, again, they all kind of fuse into a point, which is the hoof. So hopefully this is making sense. By Tatiana's response, it sounds like she's picking it up, so that's good. But this is really just a good way to, like, once you kind of know this, whenever you draw animals that are like this, that are hooved, you already kind of know like how their front and back legs bend. And also, if you know like the muscles that go on like human thighs and human forearms and that sort of thing, you can kind of make a really good guess at what the muscles in that area are going to be like. Yeah, Anna, it's kind of like a little wake up sort of thing. Like I totally threw me off when I learned it, and then it gets like even weirder when you get into like birds. But the really cool thing is like when you look at like birds and horses and then like lizards and like all these different kinds of animals, at the end of the day, like most of them have the same kind of bones that move in the same kind of ways and have the same sets of muscles as well, which makes it really easy to like learn one animal and then have that information translate over to another. So everything's kind of related. It's just you find out that like, oh, like what's like in this case, like the thigh is like right here, and the knee, it's just weird that like the knee actually starts like right near the, I guess like you could say like the base or like the main body of the deer, and that's the thing that kind of throws us a bit. And yeah, birds on Friday, not a bad idea. Maybe you guys want to think about like what kind of bird you'd like to do. But I think that's enough for this, and I'll probably mention back this as we're doing the actual drawings. But yeah, and if you have any questions on this too, like I want to make sure you guys, get this. I think this is a really helpful thing to know. So if it's not totally clear. And in fact, also, this book, Forest Animal Drawing, if you really, really want to dive into all the different animals and how they're constructed and how they move, this is an amazing book for that. Okay. So, water deer. Yay. I was really happy to learn that they're also called vampire deer for obvious reasons. Yep, so just as cool, that's cool to hear, Eder. Yeah, like learning that sort of stuff, like to me, actually makes a huge difference in just in drawing. Like now that I know that, yeah, when I sit down to draw something new like this animal, I already have a bunch of information about it. So yeah, it's really, really good stuff, and it is interesting. So as before, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of start drawing from my reference here. So one thing I'm being aware of right now, and this is because I've done a little bit of like research. Hey Mantis, welcome back. Oh, hi. I'm waving at the wrong computer. So one thing that's really important for me to notice, and you can definitely see it in the skeleton here, is that the kind of pelvis area here sits sits higher than the shoulder area. So because of that, it's higher up here. And you can see that in this right here as well. You can kind of see it a bit in this one, not as much, but that's a really good thing for me to know. So that's what I'm kind of doing here. And then some other kind of like defining characteristics about this animal are its kind of long neck and long legs. If I didn't, I'm just going to move this up a bit. There we go. Oops. It is a funny looking animal. Yeah, so the major takeaway from studying the skeletons really is just so like you kind of know the underworkings and how things move. And what we were particularly looking at, and you can totally watch it in the replay, is just the relationship between an animal's legs, or in this case, hooved animal's legs, and human arms and legs, and that they're quite similar. It's just that things are not exactly what it seems, and you might see some of that as I kind of go through this drawing here. So I'm just kind of right now looking at like proportions. So if I look at this, I can see that the front legs go down about as far as, no, but they're getting cut off here, so I should probably use this. So okay, so the legs go down like almost twice as long. Maybe I'm kind of looking at like what the size is here and comparing it with how long the leg is, and I can see it goes down like maybe 1.5 times this, 1.5 times this space here. So the legs will probably go somewhere around there. And then the joint is kind of like halfway. So I'll make a note of that there. And then it kind of tapers down. And then you have like the hoof sort of thing. I'm not ready, this is looking maybe a bit too thick, because this animal does have like long, skinny legs. So that'll probably be something I have to fix. That's okay, because again, right now we are just, we're just trying to learn. So we're just trying to understand the animal through drawing it. So understanding, yeah, what are the proportions, what are the kind of shapes that this is made of. And yeah, where are the bends? So again, this is like the equivalent of a knee of an animal right up here. One of the other things I kind of learned about this animal, and just doing a quick bit of research, is that the back legs are longer than the front legs, and that's part of why the rear is kind of raised up here. So these ones are straight, and this one is kind of bent, so that you can kind of get a sense of it being longer. The deer did not skip leg day. It did not. Yeah. And also this thing has like, it has a tail, but it's like so small you can like barely see it. So again, if I'm like drawing comparisons, I can then see that, okay, if I take this space, put it up here, that's kind of where the base of the head starts. So again, I can kind of make a mark and be like, all right, base of the head starts there, and the length of the head seems to be about the same length as the neck from this here. So if I take this length, the head will probably go to about there. So again, I might be going a bit fast with some of this stuff. Yeah, I think that's a bit too long, actually. But a lot of what I'm trying to do is just constantly draw comparisons. Looks like a Miyazaki period than something from reality. Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth saying that these are more native to like Asia. Like, I think it was mostly like China and Korea. So, yeah, there could be some inspiration there for some Miyazaki stuff. I know I'm actually just gonna like shrink this drawing down because I'm kind of running out of room. Okay. One thing I noticed here is like it really puffs up its neck here. I think that might just mean that it has some bigger muscles here than I first kind of am giving it credit for. And the ears kind of start back here. And he's got these trademark tusks. I can kind of see there's like some muscles here. Again, I don't need to go too in depth with this drawing. But yeah, the intention right now is to use the reference photos to understand this creature, because I am going to be drawing it without reference next. And so I kind of want some information to go on. Yeah. So one thing I can kind of notice off the bat is, yeah, I think I need to just like, I'm gonna do some like little Photoshop tweaks. Because this needs to be longer, like more up here. Just the body in general is a bit thicker than I'm doing it. It's a bit better. Might even be actually. Bit longer too. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm just trying to notice my mistakes and yeah, tweak them a bit. That's a bit better, I think. And yeah, Tatiana, I really like this one right here. It's very fluffy. Yeah, so the fangs are like their canine teeth. So they've kind of just grown out like really, really long. And it seems to be mostly for like males in territorial disputes. So they'll kind of like fight each other with their with their fangs. Not so much used for hunting, apparently. But yeah, it's kind of. I think that's in a similar way to like how like elephants and like walruses and stuff have like their tusks. Actually, one thing I'd like to quickly do before I move on is just break this down into like really simple geometric shapes, because that's a really good way to like memorize things when you're learning them. Majestic lispy creature. Yeah, so if I were just to draw over this and try and, because you know it can be really like intimidating to look at like a full animal or like a full person or something, and be like, oh man, how do I like remember how to draw all this stuff? That's why it can be really helpful to just break it down really simply. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna like think of the body as a cylinder. Let's draw some curving lines. Okay. And then this can even be like a rectangle. I'll change my color. Hopefully this makes sense. Make this like another sort of rectangle. And then again, the neck is going to be like another cylinder. And the head is just like straight up a cone. If I just take this away briefly, you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to think of this in like super basic shapes. Mantis, it is something that you kind of just need to like practice a lot. And really good practice too is just getting used to drawing shapes in different perspectives. The better you can kind of do that, the better you can just work in 3 dimensions, and then kind of fit these shapes into like whatever you're drawing. I'll try and actually, maybe when we get into actually doing the drawing next, I'll start out with these basic shapes and maybe we can see how it's applied. I just want to quickly do the, oops, where'd it go? The legs. So again, the legs, I'm gonna do some, it's gonna be, looks like it's kind of like a cone cylinder sort of thing. And then there's kind of like a sphere joining it. There's actually another sphere down here. And then another cylinder. This is kind of like a disc that joins out. Hopefully that's not too confusing. Oh yeah, so I draw way more traditionally than I do digitally. Like, I'm only doing this digital because it's easier for you guys to see it. Yeah, most of my drawings are just like pen and paper, like pencil and paper. And yeah, this is like the number one way I think of learning how to draw something, because then you can understand it. Like if you try to learn something and you're trying to figure out like, oh, like what are all the like, you know, where are all the fingers, where are all the bones, where are all the muscles, all these things, like it's really just you're trying to like memorize as much as you can. But if you can break things down really simply, you can not only remember the entire thing, but you can also pose it really easily. And that's kind of what we're doing here. And then once you have a better understanding of the shapes and stuff, you kind of don't need to draw them. But maybe I can start with no reference now and try and show you what I mean. So yeah, so like let's say I want to draw this deer now, I can remember, oh, like the main body was kind of just like, it's kind of like a cylinder. So I can, you know, draw that. And then I had, let me just to kind of get a sense of that. And then I had like these like rectangles kind of behind it. And then it kind of actually like sloped down. It's more like a shape like this actually, because of its butt. And then the front, there was another rectangle here. I might be making these too big, but that's all right. Again, right now we're trying to learn. So we don't have to make something like beautiful or amazing or anything. We're just trying to understand this. So yeah, it was, I guess, kind of like a shape like that. And then from there, I then remember that the head goes up like, it was like 2 units of this body. It was just, yeah, so it was like from there it kind of goes to like here-ish. So I'm gonna make this kind of like, so it's not like a totally true cylinder. But it's like something like that. It's a shape that kind of curves like this. Hopefully you guys are still with me on this. And then from here, I had my cone. So I'll start like that, and then it kind of, yeah, I'll say just like that. So that will be, it's a very different approach to drawing that I've been doing the rest of the week. But I guess it's good to see that there are different ways you can draw animals. And this is maybe some of what's going on in the background as I'm drawing, is I'm kind of aware of these shapes. Yeah, and so from here, I will, so the front legs will go, they kind of go like this. Those are run twice, so like go around. Let's go there. I'm just gonna draw some lines in for now, just as kind of like rough. All right, ignore some of that stuff. Yeah, so now I can kind of remember like, oh, this was kind of like a sort of slanted cylinder. And then there was kind of like a sphere here, kind of where the joint is. And then I had just a normal thin cylinder, and then another joint. And then I had like this kind of disc that I kind of just joined up with that sort of thing. Okay, and then I'll just do the other leg, so I would actually start back here. Start to the joint will probably be right there. There's the joint. That leg is really messed up. So I'm just gonna kill it. So it'll kind of... So this is how I was taught actually to draw animals. So like things like dogs and horses and stuff like that. That was actually earlier this year when I was studying in Montreal. This was the kind of method that I've used kind of before for certain things, but I specifically taught it for animals. And it just made a whole lot of sense. So now whenever I'm learning a new animal, I try to think of it in this way and break it down. It looks like it's gonna take a shit. That's okay, that's the pose we're going for. I don't think it's totally accurate, but that's fine. And yeah, so and I'm just gonna quickly do the front leg. So there's like 2 spheres here. Some cylinders again. Cylinders, spheres, and then this kind of like comes forward a bit. And then there's the hooves, I guess. Somewhere around the back here where the ears were. So anyway, that could be like our basic shape water deer. I can already tell you that there's definitely parts that are off of it, but still this is a really kind of, this all just came from like me analyzing it, figuring out what these shapes are, and then now drawing it out like this. Water deer shits in the woods. So now, maybe what I could do is just kind of fade this a bit. And so now that I have like a basic like pose and shapes and stuff, I can kind of use that as like my guideline for, you know, maybe I can start adding in more detail. So I know here, like, okay, so there's gonna be like kind of shoulders around here, that kind of comes up to the butt here. So the thigh kind of starts here, or rather like comes like that, and this, yeah, this kind of like knot here. Okay. And so I'm kind of using those shapes to, yeah, I'm using those shapes now as guidelines for, this is, yeah, I guess this is a bit more of like a finer drawing than we've been doing so far, but I think it's good to kind of see. So I know this, I just know that there's kind of like some muscles here that kind of do that. And the neck comes up. Okay. Any questions, guys? Looks like pajamas. maybe if we have time, which I don't know if we will, we could do a water deer in pajamas. I thought it'd be fun to do a character that is like, kind of like a vampire, because it's supposed to be like a vampire deer. So here's again, like this is part where like my memory's kicking in, both from what we looked at earlier and some what I learned before. Like, because I've never drawn deer before, I don't think, or not too much. But I have drawn a fair bit of horses, and they have similar structured heads. So I'm gonna kind of base it off that. That I think is in the wrong spot, but that's okay for now. Yeah, their head's kind of like slant down more at the top is what I noticed. Vlad the water deer. So let's take away the shapes now. So, again, it does look like it's taking a shit. I don't know how accurate of... I can already see some issues with it, is what I'm saying. But I still think this is a good example of, like, we took the time to figure out what it would look like in these kind of basic shapes, and then we positioned the basic shapes how we wanted, and then we used that as our guide for a bit more of a natural drawing. But the good news about taking that approach is it kind of has some more structure to it. Like, it looks more rigid, and one of the issues that we had with some of the other animals we've done this week is, like, my initial drawings were very, it was just kind of lacking structure. Like, them were very, like, smooth and flowy and stuff, and animals have skeletons, and they're solid, and you kind of need to get that kind of weight. Sorry, I can see, for one, I can kind of see some, like, perspective issues here, but what we want to also look at right now is that we want to bring back up our reference. Oops. Uh-oh, what happened? Okay, we're good. Alright. Too many layers, guys. Okay. Also, I just want to check in, Mantis. Like, did that help clear things up a bit more for you? Like that process that I just took? This guy definitely has longer legs, but he's totally like making a fart. There we go. Yeah, I don't really organize my layers when I'm doing like this kind of stuff, Tatiana. Like, I'm gonna get rid of this file anyway in the end, so. But yes, I have often said. So, right now, I'm using my reference now. Oh, I just want to check it. Yeah, Mantis, like, that is true. And that might be a good time to, like, A, you can use tracing paper, but B, you can really focus on making your initial drawings, like, super, super light, and then you can draw on them. Like, yes, I used 2 different layers, but I could have just as easily, not as easily, probably, but kind of made those basic shapes, and then drawn harder over those lines, and still been able to get that shape without having to use different layers or that sort of thing. Okay? So you can still use those building blocks, just, yeah, focus on drawing lighter with them. Especially once you get into like shading and stuff, like all that stuff kind of gets covered up. Yeah, don't be afraid to show some construction lines in the background. Yeah. I don't do too much inking. So like, usually my process is kind of just doing like pencil sketching and cleaning up if I have to, and then scanning it in, and then I'll do like some digital stuff. Like using, I don't know, it might be like Adobe Illustrator, which is using the pen tool, which is completely different than this stuff. But yeah, if I were to ink traditionally, then yes, I would do rough pencil work, maybe do a couple of versions like of refinement, and then yeah, in the end I would be inking it and then waiting for it to dry and then erasing it. Yeah, okay, so anyway, I'm going to get to fixing this guy. Big issues that I see. His body is too short, so that's something I'm going to want to fix. Let's do that right now. Some Photoshop magic. Whoa, how'd that happen? Another thing is, his stomach needs to be a bit bigger, so I'm gonna do something like that. I notice we're kind of running out of time, so I'm gonna be a bit quicker with this right now. Another thing is his butt is supposed to be higher than his kind of shoulder area, and it's not high enough. So I am actually going to grab this again. This is another perk that you don't have when you work digitally. And I'm just kind of adding some lines in to get a sense of my form here, because I'm still remembering that there is this kind of underlying cylinder shape, and sometimes drawing it in can help me figure out where I need to position things. These back legs really are not working for me. I actually think I might just quickly redraw them in. So his knee kind of is flush with his stomach here, so that's important for me to remember. I just said member, not remember. Hope you guys caught that. And so I look here, like these two joints are in line. So this joint, that tells me that this joint's gonna kind of go to here. Again, I'm trying to find kind of relationships. Oops. This leg's still looking a little weird to me. I think it just might not be big enough. It does have really big hind legs. Yeah, maybe it needs to be a bit longer. Put it like there. It's a bit better, I think. The only problem is that these two need to line up. And I think it might just be that these need to be a bit longer too. So I've said this in all the other ones we've done so far. This, to me, is one of the most important parts about doing this process that we're doing. Identifying the mistakes and taking the time to fix them. That's where you kind of, you know, so, yeah. If you just say like, oh look, I made that mistake, and don't fix it, it just doesn't stick with you the same sort of way. And yeah, we really want to kind of make good use of this time. And a really good way to do that is to do this, which is be like, oh, I see a problem, I'm now going to fix it. I'm just going to make this coming forward a bit more. because I can. You can see right here, I'm actually kind of drawing the leg behind the body, just trying to imagine how it would join up into the part here that we actually do see. I'm just going to shade that in so it's a bit more clear. Okay. Alright, we got 4 minutes. It's okay if we go a little over. So again, yeah, they have this kind of like big forehead, which I did do, but I think this needs to kind of come down a bit more. This needs to be a little more narrow. Yeah. And there's a bigger curve to the neck that yeah, something more like that, I think. And maybe a bit more slender here. Okay, again, I'm trying to remember the shape of that neck. Again, this isn't supposed to be a finished, perfect, pretty picture. This is me learning how to draw water deers. And that learning process isn't always pretty. Usually it isn't. It's usually quite messy, so. And we can continue to just, take this as far as we want, really. We could even start introducing color and trying to figure out, what would be the best way to render the fur, to like show off the fur. Right now this thing looks like kind of smooth, but it's furry, and I kind of want to show that. So maybe I want to have some lines that kind of look like fur. Again, there's all these like muscles and stuff, so I'm willing to take the time. I can find out what those are. Yeah, there's a lot of things we could do with this. I think that's probably going to be where we get to this. Still, again, there's still plenty of changes we can make. But, yeah, I think we did good. I think we covered a lot of stuff today, which is really cool. Some different approaches to drawing animals, and some information on how to, oh geez, I just noticed a huge problem, gotta fix it, his fangs, or his tusks, they go this way. They were curving the wrong way, guys. What's going on here? The sigil health graph means less square. I did look at the chat for a while, and there's just like a whole wall of like Game of Thrones. So actually, let's just quickly compare the fixes that we just did. Yeah, so without reference, we were able to draw our water deer shitting in the woods, and then we were able to fix it and turn it back into something that looks a little more like how an animal would actually stand. And we fixed proportions and like the body and all these things. But that was like 5 or 10 minutes, I think. And the drawing was way more accurate, and importantly, I learned a lot doing it. So we are at an hour, which is the length of these streams. But before we go, like, if you guys have any final questions, I'd be happy to re-go over something or answer them. And we need a recommendation or a suggestion for a bird to draw tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day of these animal drawing streams. And yeah, I think it would be good to do another new kind of animal. So this was like the first hooved one we did. It'd be cool to kind of show you guys how the birds are made up, some of their like anatomy, and then again how that kind of relates to people. Ostrich is pretty cool. Great frigate bird. Okay. Forgot there's like a million different birds, so I don't know what's what. Crows are pretty cool. Okay, yeah, let's just do this in typical fashion, and the first suggestion that gets 2 votes, we will do. So I will say actually not an ostrich, I think. It probably could work, but I think it would be better for us to focus on more just like flying birds, just for the sake of, yeah, explaining birds. Jon Snow, done. All right, so Lawrence is crow, and that's our second crow. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing tomorrow. Yeah. Although I do want to check out this great frigate bird, named after a ship or something. Oh, it has a puffy little chest. Okay. I'll check that out. I do quite like birds, so I do think though a crow is a good choice. A nice kind of simple bird that we can kind of use for, and it'll be fun to draw. So I feel like if we're doing like color studies or something, this frigate bird would be pretty sweet because it has that big, bright, like orangey red chest. Hayden draws the weird animals. That could catch on. That'd be pretty good. It's just like, hey, let's go find the abominations of nature and like learn all about them. Weird animals only. Oh, the Galapagos. Man, that's super cool. Oh, sloths. I think I've drawn some sloths before. But yeah, we're not even like getting into things like the blobfish, which are just like, that would be ridiculous. That's genius, Lemon. Combine all the animals. Sea cucumbers. Water bears. Man, these are great. Okay, so we might have to like figure a way to do more animal drawings outside of so I was just gonna do it for this week, but this has been pretty fun, and it would be fun to do some of these like weird things. Also, mantis insects would be really great. I actually wish that we were doing some of those as well, because they're just way different. Like all these animals, kind of related in bone structure and anatomy and stuff like that. Insects are completely different, and equally fun to do. So yeah, maybe we'll just have to like do more of these. Anyway, that's it for today. So all you guys, thank you so much for coming. It's really cool seeing like all the familiar faces too, like the same people showing up. And yeah, I hope you really like enjoyed it and you learned some stuff. If there's anything that you want to kind of re-go over, the recordings will be here on Twitch for like 2 weeks. But then I'm also putting these on YouTube forever. So you can kind of go and re-watch parts. Tatiana, you're super welcome. You as well, Mantis. And yeah, the water deer was super fun, Tatiana, so I'm glad we got to do it. Tomorrow will be the last day of this series, and we'll be doing the crow. Again, it's from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern. And yeah, we might have to do some more of them because there's a lot of cool stuff we could still cover. Yeah, okay. So again, thank you everyone. And yeah, I'll see you soon, hopefully tomorrow.